Good morning, everybody. I missed you guys. We were only gone a couple days, but I was like, man, I just wanted to give you guys a chance to get together with family. I don't personally observe Christmas, but I wanted to give you guys a break during the state sponsored vacation to be with family. It's weird how the word vacation has the word vaca in it, which means like cattle, doesn't it? Weird. Anyway, much of the country is still under snow and ice. Here in northern Arkansas, we still got snow on the ground here, but it's starting to kind of melt away. And I do know that I think Thursday and Friday it's going to be up in the 60s and maybe even the 70s, if you can believe that. So of course it'll melt all the snow. Then we're supposed to have rain over the weekend. That of course will melt the snow as well. Max and I have been treated with some close encounters with a lot of deer where we're at here near Harrison, Arkansas. The deer just come right onto the property and literally within like 10 yards of our little rental here. And I don't know what they're eating. I guess they're eating maybe acorns. There's a lot of oak trees out here. But it's just weird how they come out. We haven't seen any deer the entire time we've been here. And they come out with the snow on the ground, which is, I had never seen that before. So, of course, I've got my hunting license, but I can't hunt on this property because I'm renting here. But here in Arkansas, you can keep, I think it's 5 or 6 deer and 2 bucks. Apparently, there are a lot of deer out here. Again, a food source when it all hits the fan. Plenty of wild game out here, and not a lot of people. So, I don't know how that's going to play out with the zombie apocalypse, but I guess we're going to have to wait and see, aren't we? Anyway, we're going to go all the way back to 1988 to decode this film, Monkey Shines. Now, I really hope that nobody got this creepiest toy ever made for Christmas under their tree, under their pagan tree this year. Because if you did, you might want to burn this in the fire. Now, the film is about a paraplegic man whose friend gifts him a monkey. Now, why does his friend give him a monkey? Well, it's to help assist him in his disability. The problem is the monkey that he gives him is being injected with human brains. All of a sudden, the monkey starts acting human. And his human master starts acting like a monkey. So there's like this weird crossover going on. Now, what most people don't know is that things that they like to poke us with are cultured in animals. Monkeys and chickens specifically throughout the course of human history or recent history with getting pokers. And interestingly, people started coming down with animal diseases like bird flu and simian flu. Here's a study that they did. And they said that there's a possibility that people, because of the monkey cell cultures, were coming down with monkey-like illnesses. So, in essence, very early on in this decode, I picked up on the fact that this is mockery, mocking the obvious, mocking the fact that humans have been infected with animal diseases because of what they're doing. Now, what else you probably didn't know is that the carrot and stick analogy, which is a common analogy that is used to describe vaccine acceptance, also appears in this movie. Carrots and sticks can promote Smack the Nation. Now, this isn't the only story. This was a whole thing that came up, remember? Caused a lot of controversy. People are upset about this. They're like, what? First you gave us a carrot? They were giving away like sweepstakes and stuff like this. Free pizzas, free ice cream, free this, free that. They even had lottery. You could win the lottery. So that was the carrot, and then they went to the stick. Watch this and listen to how they mention this in this movie.
I prefer the stick. One conditions. By the carrot or by the stick. Concentrates the rodent mind. It's closer to what we encounter in real life. Fear of drowning, for example.
One human brain.
Now, the stick and the carrot is actually a play on words. Because the stick is the jab, and the carrot is the natural immune response through carotenoids. Carotenoids have been reported to possess immunomodulatory activities in humans and animals. What are carotenoids? Well, it's the orangish color that's inside of a carrot. And it says here that it actually increases your immune response, the immune system. Now wrap your brain around that for a minute. The stick is the Pokemon sticker, and the carrot is the natural. So it's the, I guess, unnatural versus the natural is the real metaphor here about the stick and the carrot. Now let's keep going here because this film goes off the rails. Because as I began to move through the film, I began to quickly realize that the central theme was about the central nervous system. And in fact, it becomes about human-animal behavior and the mixing of animals with humans to bring out this behavior. And it becomes about the transference of consciousness through the merging of the animal mind. Watch this.
For example,
One human brain. Next job. Another night without sleep. Six. Double toil and trouble.
Double tarn and trouble. Obviously, that's a Gemini reference in the doubling of the spirit, the monkey inhabiting the human and the human inhabiting the monkey. Okay. Now, Alan, which is the guy that you're going to see next, comes home from the hospital in a wheelchair.
Here's sugar. There you go. Yeah. I know it hurts, baby. But hey, beats going back to the jungle, doesn't it, Ash?
When memory cells have been injecting one of my monkeys.
is the monkey responding? Has its learning curve improved? Is it any smarter than it was before it was injected?
I mean, you can't make this up. So, Alan comes back from the hospital in a wheelchair, and his caregiver brings her bird with her. And then we get what amounts to the monkey versus the bird. Now, of course, the two animals, these are the two main animals that stickers used to be cultured in. Polio vaccine was monkey cells, and some of the more modern vaccines were out of chickens.
Please call the lab, line 312. Dr. Dennis Copeland.
I gotta wonder. Look at the credits as they roll out here. Booba? That's plague, you guys. A buboes is a plague. It's the little sores you get. Bubonic plague. Is this a real person? Edited by Pasquale Booba? Guess we're gonna have to wait and see.
Dr. Fletcher, quiet.
Oh, Alan, you're home.
So there's Alan. He comes home after a spinal cord injury. This is all about the nervous system. There's his caregiver back here. She brings her bird with her. Let's keep watching here. And the bird starts attacking Alan. doesn't like Alan because it's the bird versus the monkey, because the monkey is already starting to cross over with Alan. And so therefore the bird starts to attack Alan. Well, of course, the monkey wins.
Marianne!
Get rid of that bird, Marianne. Get rid of that bird, or so help me.
You what?
So Ella kills the monkey. Now at this point, Alan begins to see through the eyes of Ella, like almost like an out-of-body experience. And the pattern in the film is that it always begins with the monkey up inside of a pine tree. Pineal, the seat of the soul, the seat of consciousness. And this is when the two become one. Watch.
Ella. You little devil, you.
Alan, what is it?
I'm part.
Now, those were two of the scenes of the transference of consciousness. There was a third, but I didn't want to belabor the point, but the third one occurs in the pine tree as well. So, we're not making this up. So, essentially, Ella the monkey is a play on the words El La. So, El means God, La is the feminine. So, they're making fun of God. It's a female God. Or you could look at it as feminization of the man, because Ella's female and Alan is male. Or the altering of man through the monkey to block the God connection to man. So Alan starts acting like Ella, and that's when it hit me. Alan's name is Ella backwards.
Part of her. She's part of me. It's like I'm in Ella's body, running with her strength, seeing through her eyes.
Ella is Alan backwards.
I don't like this change in you, Alan.
And you said she was normal. Even after I told you what was happening, you said she was normal. I was just part of some experiment, wasn't I?
So, I couldn't help but laugh through most of this film. But back in the 80s, I think when the first time when I watched this film, it was scary. But now it's more like horror comedy, you know, because it's so ridiculous. But then when you think about what this is really all about, which I'm trying to describe to you guys today, it isn't so funny, is it? So Alan finds out that the surgeon who did the surgery on him intentionally left him paralyzed so that he could steal his girlfriend. So then Ella goes to the cabin where the surgeon is having the affair with Alan's girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, and Ella burns down the cabin. Watch this.
A guinea pig this whole time.
No, not the whole time.
These are the books in the cabin that Ella's about to burn down. And what you see prominently is the book Cujo by Stephen King. What is Cujo? It's about a rabid dog that went and killed a bunch of people. Now here's the creepy thing. Look at where Cujo is sitting. And we're going to do a little interactive question and answer, because you guys know the answer as to what the name of the book Cujo sitting in the middle of what you just saw means. Let's see who gets it first. and then we'll continue on with this decode. The chat catch up. Now, why do we have to decode this stuff? Well, so that people can wake up and understand that these aren't just movies. They're programming of things that had not happened yet. This is high sorcery. In fact, it's the devil's main source of visual voodoo to program us. So someone said graphene. I would agree with that. Yep, sharpened graphene. Now, I'll be the first to admit that was one thing we were wrong about. Because I was in denial. I was like, there's no way. But there's too much symbolism, isn't there? It's undeniable at this point. What else? Well, the pen, soul, is the first 3 letters of pineal. Spelled in some ways. So it's about going after the consciousness, the seed of consciousness, and swapping consciousness, opening you up for possession. So good job, you guys. Now, let's keep going with this. There's so much more to this film.
Hello?
Notice the glasses of wine around the pencils. See how this is all set like a little stage. The corkscrew. That's the portal to get into. There needs to be required a sacrifice. That's the wine. This is my body. This is my blood. And you need rabies. Now let's keep going with this. Oh, you need the telephone as well because that's the copper connection that opens the portal. And this is why they have the telephone across from the corkscrew. From the reeve. Now let's keep going here.
Hello?
Now, telephones feature prominently in the film. Now, I know that telephones are in every film, but this is different because this is the copper aspect. Look at this poster. This is actually a poster on a wall of a telephone booth from the UK. This is what the telephone booths from the UK look like in the 1980s when this film came out. And it's a poster, and it's a red phone booth, and it's sitting on top of the wall right above another telephone. Watch. Now, what these are electronic dialing cards. Okay, so what you do is you stick one of these cards in a telephone, a special telephone, and it would automatically dial the person on the card. And this was, I guess, popular in the late 70s, early 80s. And Ella, the monkey, uses these cards to call up her next victim. Now, these are the punch cards here. I wanted to do some research on this. I found them. Telephone auto dialers from 1962 to the early 80s. And so they were made by a company called Western Electric. They were the most popular ones. But these punch cards are eerily reminiscent of other punch cards that we've seen, aren't they? The IBM punch cards that they made for the Nazis. Why did they make punch cards for the Nazis? Weird, right? Now, let's keep going with this. There's more. Now, the popular logo for the film is a chimp banging cymbals together. This one right here. And this is the toy you didn't want to get for Christmas. This toy was originally known as the Jolly Chimp, and it made its appearance in many horror and sci-fi films in popular culture. I'm going to read them off here, but understand that most recently it made its appearance in Stranger Things 2022. Very first appearance was Rebel Without a Cause in 1955, and then in 77 it was in Close Encounters of the Third Time, and then 88 Monkey Shines. Notice the first 3 times it shows up: 55, 77, 88. 55, 77, and 88 are the first 3 appearances of this bizarre toy. Then, after that, in 96, it shows up in Merlin's Shop of Mystical Wonders. Then in 2000, The Grinch That Stole Christmas. 2004, Euro Trip. 2007, The Simpsons Movie. 2010, Toy Story 3. And 2019, Annabelle Comes Home. It's also in video games, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, and in the story The Monkey. It appeared in Wallace and Gromit, A Matter of Loaf and Death, Call of Duty, Zombies, Game Mode. It was in Hot Chip, and League of Legends, Arcane League of Legends, and finally Stranger Things. Then Alan's friend goes into the refrigerator, and inside is an orange juice bottle next to the juice. Let's back this up a little bit so you guys can see this. There's the juice, the brain juice that he is injecting into the monkey, and next to it is the orange juice. Now what you're also going to see is a Roy Rogers cup.
7 bottles of beer on the wall. 7 bottles of beer on the wall.
Jesus, he's got it.
There's Roy Rogers. Now, what's so special about Roy Rogers? Well, he was born on the 5th of November. We're going to talk about that date because it's very important. It's Samhain, when the veil is lowest and spirits travel in and out of things. This is when possession happens. This is when time travel happens. It's the time travel date. Now, we're going to also be covering later in the week the film Interstellar, because that released on the 5th of November as well. And a few other films we're going to get into later on this week. This week will be a lot of film decodes for you guys that like the film decodes. But let's get back to this, because the symbolism of the props inside of this refrigerator is through the roof. So we've got oranges and grapes. Remember Brad Pitt drinks the grape soda in World War Z? Remember that? Let's keep watching here.
He's got the serum.
There you see the grapes again. Grapes and orange drink. Orange crush next to grapes. This time on the top shelf. So on the bottom shelf, we saw grape jelly. Let's back it up. We saw grape jelly and orange juice. And on the top shelf, grapes next to orange crush. So we have above and below grapes and oranges. Now what does that mean? Well, we're still kind of getting to the bottom of that, aren't we? We're seeing the props continue to come up. You can't make this up. It's there. Let's keep watching here.
Jesus, he's got it. He's got the serum.
Mother, this business about Melanie. I need your support.
So Alan then hooks up with his new caregiver. Her name is Melanie. And I thought about what Melanie's name really means, because obviously we have a precedent here, don't we? We have Alan and Ella. Their names mean something. They're reverses of each other. So that makes all the other names in the film fair game to decode. And then I realized that Melanie's name contains Ella and Alan as well. Melanie and Alan backwards. So what's this about? Well, is Melanie melanin or melatonin of the brain? Is this going to have something to do with this transformation that they're trying to trigger?
No, sir. The telephone, Ella. No. Answer.
Now remember, I told you that the telephone is prominent in this film. And essentially, Ella integrates with the telephone line by chewing through it. Remember, based on our research, there will be a 5G or network component to the rabies zombie apocalypse. Like they will be controlled by it somehow.
Ella, no. Stop it.
Then we see this scene, which is prominent in the film. This was the one that we looked at earlier, where they scan down from this poster, this red poster, down across this brass copper lamp and onto the telephone. Remember that? Well, the scene goes deeper. Because what you're really looking at here is a copper telephone booth. Why? Because it's full of copper money and copper telephone lines. And it's next to the parking meter, which is obviously filled with a bunch of copper money. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about copper money, that's a whole separate video. All coins have a copper core except for pennies, which are coated with 2 to 3% copper. And in the center, you see the movie poster Casablanca. What does Casablanca mean? It means White House. And below the poster is the card dialer phone, which is operated by Ella. And here are the cards standing up for Ella to call her next victim. Now let's break down each of these objects in this scene, because this is where things get really creepy. Because Casablanca came out in 1942. 1942, 46 years before the film Monkey Shines. Trump was born in 46, and how old was he in 1988 when Monkey Shines came out? He was 42. I'm going to say that again, all of that I just said, because it completes the sorcery. It completes the circle of magic. Casablanca's The White House came out in 1942, 46 years before Monkey Shines. Trump was born in 46 and was 42 in 1988 when Monkey Shines came out. Now you might have to write all that down to really get the gist of what I just said, because the odds of that connection happening is almost impossible, unless there was forethought and foreknowledge behind it. Essentially, what you are looking at in these coded props is the prediction of the White House, the Trump presidency, the Casablanca, and that copper and all the elements of this film would come around again, full circle, and happen again. What are you talking about, Casey? 5G and beyond is the new copper revolution. Base stations full of copper. Copper costs going through the roof historically. Never before seen in the history of copper, as these base stations are going up in plain sight, full of copper components. Now, to confirm all of this, and I'm not going to show you the end scene because it's a jump scare. I don't want you guys to have that in your head. But at the end, Ella jumps out of Alan's spine during a surgery. It's almost like what you would see in the Alien films. Now, of course, it's a nightmare, but we get what they're getting at. It's about the central nervous system, merging man with beast. Now, Monkey Shines seemed to echo Superman, didn't it? Remember Christopher Reeve? Reeving means spiral. It's a portal. Serpent in the chest. Well, he was in a horse accident and was in a wheelchair. Now, this dovetails into our research about the Superman connections very well, doesn't it? There were several songs throughout the film. And one of those songs was, or several of those songs were by Peggy Lee, a jazz singer. There were like 5 or 6 songs by Peggy Lee in Monkey Shines. And according to history, Peggy Lee's last performances long after Monkey Shines came out were from a wheelchair. So we've got Superman in the phone booth. We've got Peggy Lee singing from a wheelchair. Christopher Reeve going into a wheelchair. He's starting to see the deep sorcery here. And this movie came out long before Peggy Lee and Christopher Reeve were in a wheelchair. So what's this really all about? Something creepy, right? So, ultimately, what does Monkey Shines even mean? What is a shine? Well, the shine is the possession. It's the ability to see through another's eyes, just like in the movie The Shining. Danny could see through the eyes of the spirits. And this is the goal, to use animal injections and electromagnetic waves to initiate spirit possession, to be able to inhabit the host body. That's what this is all about. And very, very, very few people are awake to this. Now, there may be some kind of precedent for this, like some kind of MK Ultra experiments. I don't know, because I haven't seen classified documents on this, but they've done this before, and that's how they know they want to do it on a mass scale. That's what this is about. Someone in a lab did an experiment using electromagnetic waves and injections and was able to control or spirit possess or whatever a person. And so this is what they want to do to all of us. How are they going to do it? They just expand the model. You go from a laboratory to the network and to other things that they poke you with. I hope people are awake to this, because the only thing you can do to defend against this is not do what they tell you to do. Peggy Lee sang the song Fever. And this is why I love you guys, because you guys add to the story with your knowledge. You add to the story. And you help us decode this stuff. So, they have another one in China. Here we go. Now, I didn't think that they would ramp things up to the degree that they did over the last several years, but I could be wrong about that. I hope I'm not. But like I told you guys, there'll probably be isolated pockets of fear, and people will still comply because the trauma has already taken place. So it's easy for them to comply now. They got people in the fear mode, so they'll just keep going back and doing what they're told. Now, tomorrow, we are going to look at a paradox, bizarre paradox that science is in denial about. Why is it that only 14% of people in Africa have had the Jabberwocky, and yet their death rates are only a fraction of what it is in the countries that have 90% Jabberwockies? Apparently, this thing is supposed to be super contagious, right? So one person lands in a city that has it, and lo and behold, the whole place is supposed to get it, right? If they're not, quote unquote, protected. And science can't explain that, but I'm going to read you an article by a authoritative news source, and I'm saying that with all of the irony in the world, that tries to explain it away in plain sight. In plain sight. So that's Monkey Shines, and I'm thank you to the person that asked me to watch that. I was not expecting to find all that stuff, but it is now clear to me that every single one of these top Hollywood productions are full of symbolism of things that haven't happened yet because it's visual voodoo. They make it in a film and then it happens. So, the job become walkies. I think that you might be onto something there. Now, if you were to go watch that film, you'd probably pee yourself laughing because it is really funny. You know that how things were back then. It's actually really funny. I was laughing. But it's not so funny when you think about it, is it? So, all right, let's go into the chat here with you guys. Looks like a lot of people are hungover from Christmas this morning or had a late night. So hopefully everyone will catch this on the flip side because this is a very important decode today. All right. The monkey is actually really cute in the film. Ella. I mean, she's an adorable little monkey, but she's evil. She's like pure evil. She basically runs around and she kills birds and does all kinds of crazy stuff. She's like basically the henchman for Alan. So, but if you want a good laugh, I guess watch the film. But like I said, there's a jump scare at the end. You're going to want to not watch that part. Now, later in the week, we're going to get into another film decode called Interstellar. Now, this was a really good one. And I've seen the film and decoded it several times before. But this time I found more stuff. They put masks on. There's all kinds of weird stuff going on with Interstellar. There's a different component to it. It was released on the 5th of November. Time travel, right? Going through the veil. That's what it was all about. So we'll dig into that later into the week as well. All right. What else is going on here? Anything you guys want to talk about before we get off here? 70% of Canadians got it. Maple says she disliked it, or he says he disliked the movie in the 80s, but always went to revisit it. I just do not like monkeys. Yeah, and the whole thing about, monkey experiments is kind of weird too, right? I mean, this is in plain sight. This is what we do. We did a really good video. Oh gosh, it was probably 5 years ago. We're looking at vectors for the ticks, tick-borne illnesses, and Lyme disease. And if you look at the map of where it began, obviously everybody knows the one that happened near the island out in New England. Was it Montauk Island where they were doing experiments on ticks? So that vector makes sense. But the vector that doesn't make sense is the one in Wisconsin. Well, we did some research and we found out that there was a huge primate research facility. And they were doing tick experiments on the primates. And you could actually see where the vector began on the map of cases of Lyme disease in and around that primate facility. Now, people are like, well, what do you mean? Well, all it takes is one monkey that has Lyme disease to escape. Ticks jump on the monkey. They jump off the monkey onto a deer. And lo and behold, you have a tick outbreak. Yeah, it was Plum Island. Thanks, Snowball. Thanks for correcting me on that. It's not Montauk. It's Plum Island. Thank you. So, all it takes is one monkey to escape, you guys. That's all it takes. And once they're out in the wild, ticks jump on and off creatures, don't they? So, what was really going on? I don't know. But here's what I do know. They rarely tell us the whole truth about anything on that level because they don't want to. Because once you have that much power, you do not want anyone to get you in trouble, so you just make up lies, right? So yeah, thumbs up the video here, you guys. It'll get the algorithms to send it out to as many people. Recommend the video so that everyone could see this decode. I want to send Hannibal Lecter out there and Silence of the Lamb. Yep. All right, you guys. Well, I guess we're going to pop off here. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I love each and every one of you. Take care and be safe.